Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of Frank on the Lake. I'm that Frank guy. So, it is October, and it is the 14th of October. It was great. I had a great day on October 13th, which also happens to be probably one of my luckiest days out of the year, which is kind of weird because I don't really believe in luck, but yeah, it definitely was a pretty lucky day. I had a good day yesterday. But it rained a lot here in Michigan, and it rained a lot today. Kevin is actually working the haunted house tonight. He was there yesterday. It was pretty rainy, and they were not nearly as busy as they thought they would be for Friday the 13th because it was rainy. So what we're going to do today, I think, is... Since it's October and I do work at a middle school and I do some after-school programs with the 5th and 6th graders, and they love hearing my scary stories that I tell. I've had a lot of experiences. I've traveled around a lot in this country. I've seen a lot of strange things. I've been a lot of different places, and I camp and I hike and I do that kind of thing all the time. And being out in the woods and just being around nature like that and being out in the woods, I've definitely seen a lot of strange things in my time. But this one has nothing to do with being out in the woods. This one actually I refer to as the Cornfield incident. And this happened when it was my senior year of high school. And I was dating this girl named Kirsten. And she lived north of where my parents live, which is, we were kind of north in more of a rural area, and she lived past that. She lived north of that. So she was really out in the middle of nowhere where she grew up. And she owned horses, and around her house, though, was basically all cornfield. It was like you turned off the only main paved road around there, and you went down a dirt road, and it was just cornfields as far as you could see out there. And she did have a neighbor that lived directly next door to her, and one that lived directly across the street. But the next neighbor to her was way down the road, like a good few miles. And on the other side of the cornfield, there was another person, but it was like a mile away through the cornfield. So one day it was late August, and I was over at her house, and I can't remember exactly what we were doing, but we had just finished. I believe we had just finished making up fresh fried zucchini, which they grew in their garden on the side of their house. And I was helping her mom. Both her parents were there, and I was helping her mom finish up the dishes. And she had gone outside to take the trash outside. And she said, and then she took the trash and she went outside. And she comes, maybe about, I don't know, less than a minute, she comes running back in. She's like, oh my gosh, you guys, I don't know what's going on, but you have to come out here. There is something really strange happening out here. And it was a sunny day. It was nice. It was warm. So, her and her and her mom, we all went out through the garage where their driveway comes up, and like, here's the garage, and the cornfield, backs literally right up to the back of their driveway. And we walk outside, and it sounds like in the corn there is a child crying, like sobbing, like a child just out there sobbing in the corn, and you could hear it plain as day. And we didn't know what to make about it. By late August here in Michigan, the corn is really high. It's probably over 6 feet high, if not more. And it's always really dense. And you can't really see more than a foot, in. And her mom immediately goes in and gets her dad. And her dad comes out, and this child is crying. So me and her dad, we walk up to the edge of the cornfield, and her dad screams out, "Hello, do you need help? Can we help you?" And the crying stops immediately. It immediately stops and goes silent. And so her dad's like, "Frank, go into the cornfield." He tells his wife, "Go call 911." So we both go into the cornfield at kind of two separate ends, maybe about 10 feet apart. And like I said, the corn is super dense. You can't see more than a foot in front of you. And we're, heading in the direction we believe the crying was coming from. And all the time you're saying, hey, are you okay? We can help you. We'll come and get you. Tell us where you are. And there's nothing. No crying, no nothing. So I dropped down to the ground level, all the way on my stomach, to see if I could see underneath the corn. And I could see a little bit further, but not too much, maybe 8 or 10 feet at best. And we were in there for probably, 10 or 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes. And we're walking back and forth, and we're yelling out. And nothing. We're not finding anything. We're not seeing anything. So her dad was like, "Well, we can hear Kirsten and her mom calling that the police have arrived." So we make our way out of the cornfield, and 2 county sheriff's cars had pulled up. One of them was a canine unit, and another car had come from the opposite direction down the dirt road. And so we told them what we heard and what was going on. And so they had an additional car show up. And all this happened within 10 or 15 minutes of when we came out of the cornfield. So 3 of the officers, along with the canine, went into the cornfield from where we were. And we told them, like, "Look, we heard it in this direction. It sounded really, really close. It sounded like the kid was maybe 50 feet away. I don't know, maybe 50 or 100 feet. It's hard to tell with the sound out there. But it was super close. I mean, it was very distinct crying, very loud, literally like the kid was like right there." And so they went into the cornfield with the dog. And one of the other cop cars drove the perimeter of the cornfield, or at least best they could, a few times trying to see if they could see anything. So they were in there for, I would say, about an hour at least. And they came out and they said, "Yeah, we don't see anything, and the dog's not, picking up on anything." And the other cop car had, there was no like sign of any kid being there, bikes around the side of the road, other kids playing. The cop who was driving around went and talked to a few neighbors on the other side of the field, who none of them have children, and they said they haven't had any issues. There was no, they haven't seen anybody out there. They don't know anything's going on. And they're like, they don't have any reports of any missing kids, and there was no one like in the area or around that would have a child that was missing. And there were no kids that lived on the road or lived behind the cornfield or anything like that. So they just chalked it up to, maybe there were people out there and someone was playing a prank on you, or we don't really know what you heard. And I don't want to say they dismissed it, but they definitely were like, "Look, we're pretty satisfied that whatever was going on is concluded, and unless we, get some more information or somebody reports a kid missing or something like that, we'll take further action, but right now they're like, we're pretty much content with the situation's been resolved. So they left, and we talked about it here and there, and then I didn't think much more about it, and as time went on, we kind of forgot about it. So then, about, I would say, 15 or 18 years later, so fast forward 15 to 18 years in time, and out of the blue, one day, Kirsten had called me on the phone, and we had been broken up for a really long time. She was my high school girlfriend. And we went through she was like, hey, how you doing? What's going on? And, how's your life been? Blah, blah, blah. I hadn't talked to her in like 10 or 15 years. And so after we get through all that, she says to me, she goes, hey, do you remember the Cornfield incident? And I was like, oh, God. I'm like, oh, yeah, I totally remember that. Yeah, that was a pretty freaky day. And she goes, it gets even freakier. And I'm like, why? What did you find out? And she says, she goes, her mom, who has since retired, and she was volunteering at a senior center in the area. And one of Kirsten's neighbors who lived down the street, down the road, that neighbor was at this senior center, and she had lived in that area since she grew up there. She was a child, and now she was in her like 90s, and she was in the senior center. And she was telling Kirsten's mom about an incident that happened in the 30s when she was a little girl. In the 1930s, where in the cornfield where we were, a little boy was riding on the back of a tractor with his father while he was tilling the land. He was pulling behind one of those farm machines. I'm not really sure what they call that till the land. So they can get ready for planting. So apparently the father was a very heavy drinker, and he was driving the tractor, and the little boy was on the back, and the little boy had fallen off and gotten run over by this equipment. And the father, who I'm assuming was intoxicated, didn't even realize that his kid had fallen off the tractor and he'd ran over him. As a matter of fact, from what the neighbor said, was the father didn't even realize that the boy was missing until well after he got back to the farm, and his wife was like, well, where's the kid? And I guess they had a big search, and everybody was searching around for the child, and it took about 2 or 3 days before they found the kid, and he had since passed away and died from exposure, I'm assuming, or from his injuries. I don't really know. It's from what I'm hearing is second, third hand. So it kind of makes you wonder, when Kirsten and I and her parents went out and we heard these cries of a little boy in the corn, was it somebody just playing a prank on us? Or could it have been the lost cries of a little boy who perished in a really bad accident out in the middle of the cornfield? I mean, that's something that I will never know, and has definitely made me think about it quite a lot since Kirsten called me on the phone and told me about that incident. So anyway, thought I'd share that scary story with you. I've got a few more that I think I'll post during October that I'm sure you'll like. But hey, this is Frank on the lake. I'm that Frank guy. Out there's the lake, and we will see you out there.